I exposed my wife's secret affair with my friend by printing every hidden message they sent each other. For the sake of the narrative, let's call her Lily. My wife, 26F, cheated on me, 27M, with a friend of mine, Kane. Background: we met at another friend's wedding. When I was 22, she was the bride's friend, and I was the groom's friend. Therefore, they seated us at the same table, hoping we would cross paths. I was quite surprised by her beauty when I first saw her. We discovered we shared a lot when she sat down, and we started to chat. We clicked right away. After supper, we lingered for a little before heading to the dance floor. Throughout the evening, we drank and danced. We ended up kissing in the center of the dance floor, and when we broke off our friends, the bride and groom came over to ask what was going on between. Playing matchmaker made them really happy. We basically ignored it and proceeded on through our evening. We parted without sharing numbers, but approximately 1 week later, I received a text from her asking me. The bride had supplied my number, of course. I answered yes and developed a relationship out of it. The relationship was excellent apart from little disputes. We never truly battled, and it was never anything major. About 2 years into our relationship, I finally asked her to wed me. We were married less than a year later, just before our first anniversary. We were married for a little more than a year when everything collapsed upon me. I could find small irritations in her phone, got more guarded, girls' nights grew more frequent, and our sex life nearly non-existent. I had brought this up several times, but she dismissed it, saying I was letting my fears control me. She would carry on as though what I sensed and tried to express had no relevance. I grew much colder as a result. We seldom spoke unless it was something vital. I stopped kissing her goodbye as I headed to work. I grabbed her phone and laptop one night while she slept, skimming her text, emails, and messenger apps, but found nothing. Inspired by stories on this site, I decided to investigate her car. I noticed a second phone as I reached for her keys and glanced in her car. Though I knew right away what was happening, I wanted all the proof for when I called her out. She should not have spoken anything like that, something which had only happened once, or anything dumb like that. Searching the phone, I discovered just one number. I linked the phone to my computer, went over every note, and printed every message along with every picture. I looked at divorce lawyers late tonight, reading profiles of lawyers for hours in my home office. I came upon one that appealed to me and emailed him, but because it being a Saturday, he wasn't at the office. I wanted to find out who the guy was, so I grabbed my phone, entered the number, and was prepared to claim I was from Spectrum, since who doesn't have Spectrum? Kane's contact then suddenly showed up. Though it took me a minute to arrange two and two together, but I blew up when I did. In my workplace, I was screaming and berating my wife, entered the door to check on her. Upon seeing her, I said her to get the out. She went to our room and locked the door. I had never raised my voice over a reasonable level or cursed at my wife. I silently raged from my office all day, just staring at the wall. I asked if he would come with me after phoning one of my friends, the wedding's groom, to let him know I needed to get a drink. He inquired whether I was all right, so he must have detected something in my voice. I admitted to him I truly wanted a drink, and I wasn't. I gathered all the printouts silently and headed to the bar. REVYing first, I ordered 4 Jack Daniel's shots along with a beer. As my friend, Finn, came, he inquired about what was going on. I was on my last shot. Lily was cheating, I told him right out. He showed me sympathy. I inquired whether he wanted to know with whom. He seemed clearly agitated when I told him it was Kane. He was the one first introducing Kane to me. All he could say was I'm sorry over and over. Kane and I have never been quite close, although we wouldn't invite one another to hang together. We were friendly if we happened to run across each other together. Vying just discovered this and hadn't even spoken to Lily or a lawyer yet. I said Finn not to discuss this. If his wife questioned what was wrong with me, I said him to tell her I was Vying trouble at work. He concurred. Most of the evening we drank and chatted. Then at approximately 3 o'clock in the morning, I got an Uber and headed home. Since I phoned Finn, it was the first time I checked my phone. There were missed calls and a lot of texts from Lily asking where I was when I would be home and whether I was okay. When I got home, she was curled up on the couch napping. I simply went to sleep, walking up to our bedroom. She was in bed when I woke up, so I got ready and left the house. I went to pick up my car, head to my office, and bury myself in work for the day. About 10 o'clock, I headed home. My wife surprised me by showing up to welcome me and mentioning she had dinner. Would you like her to heat it? She inquired. I turned her down and went to bed. Not far behind, she questioned me about what was wrong. I said I wanted to sleep and she should leave me alone. She persisted till finally I snapped and cried, Lily, stop. I should be asleep right now, Lee. The attorney emailed me the next morning requesting a later in the day meeting. I confirmed and prepared for my day. Lily had made breakfast and asked to chat when I walked downstairs to head out. I prepared a small plate and settled in. She began by noting that I had been acting differently and then went on mentioning my changes and asking. I informed her that work had been demanding and that it will soon be all done. I told her I had to go after finishing, counting down the minutes till I could see the lawyer. I headed to my workplace. I informed my assistant I was Leah VYing to lunch with a customer. I left as my wife occasionally would call my work. The legal meeting went smoothly, and I turned over all the material I had collected on. Well, I'm sorry for all that's going on, the attorney said, but I'm glad you acquired all this material. You see, most of your money your wife has no claim on since we live in a no-fault state. I told him I had not given that any attention. I was only thinking I should divorce her right now. He insisted on keeping the proof, but I told him I would rather he simply create duplicates as I hadn't told my wife yet, and I wanted to avoid hearing her justification. He agreed and had his assistant copy me. When would she be served the papers? I asked. He had VY said me it would take 2 weeks. I thanked him then and headed off. I headed home to face my wife. She wasn't at home when I got there, so I phoned none of it. I got back on the line, no response. I texted her, if you with Kane right now, I don't give her a ride home, we must have a conversation. Not a minute later, she called me, not sure what I was talking about. I told her simply get home now. About 15 minutes later, she showed up. I said to her, well, look at that 15 minutes, that's around the same distance between here and Kane's, not sure exactly. She turned to face me stunned. She was just staring at me. After I gave her a minute to calm down, well, I asked, not much to say here. I let her carry on while she tried to gaslight and deny me. She got herself up and began to disparage me. To silence her, I pounded my hand on the table and drew out the proof. Look at this mountain of things I've gathered on you, I remarked, showing it to her from the side. I then went through one print out at a time, showing her. She told me to stop immediately and started to cry. She told me she loved me and tried to apologize. Honey, what happened to that energy you had before just a minute ago? You were rather determined about denigrating and attacking me. I put my hand out and said, don't touch me, as she wanted to hug me and apologize. She suggested we could go to the bedroom and do whatever I wanted. Looking her squarely in the eyes, I said, sweetheart, I will never touch you again. Who else has these pictures and messages you wish to know? My attorney. I am divorcing you now. Get a bag, sort your clothes, and leave my house free. That was 3 days ago. I haven't heard from her since. I apologize for the length of this and any spelling mistakes. For people who have been where I am at what can I expect from here, I appreciate you looking over this. You all gave me a lot of ad VYC after I uploaded the first section of this, so I mostly followed it. I meant to conduct some damage control in my life this morning, hence I made a doctor's appointment to be examined for STDs. 2 days from now is that appointment. I then began calling every person close to me, my father and a few pals. They have all been quite helpful providing their own guidance and inquiring as to if I require assistance with any one thing. But I turned it down since I had this garbage locked on. I then got on to calling her family, thanking them for letting me into their family. I emailed her mom and dad saying I was appreciative of all they had done for me. But I told them I will really miss them tremendously since Lily and I are divorcing. Not really, they were somewhat smothering. And even if they are wonderful people, I'm glad I'm free from I next add VYSE them to feel free to ask questions should they have any. After not getting back from them for some time, I turned to Lily's sister. This kind of hurt since I knew it would sour her sister friendship, and we were excellent friends, saying, hey, I'm sorry to have to text you this, but Lily and I are going to get divorced, and I wanted you to know. I want to thank you. You embraced me as a brother right from the beginning. I will be here should you ever need anything from me. Her parents answered back at the same moment. I sent the SMS. The dialogue proceeded as follows. Parents, we regret learning of this. Whatever happened, why has Lily not spoken to us? Me. Lily has been in at least 1 year-long affair. I suppose it began before our wedding. She hasn't gotten in touch, and I'm not sure why, but you should phone her. She went from the house. She would have gone to you, I reasoned. Parents, we have not heard from her. We give her a call. Thank you for informing us. Are you really positive she was VYing an affair? Me, I'm upbeat. Parents, we're really sorry she did that. You found their books. We will try and contact her. I took care of her family, then went on to Kane's fiancée. I know it was mentioned in some of the comments. I'm not sure whether I told you all he is engaged in the first section. I assumed this would be challenging, that Lily and Kane would have hatched some grand plans, but either Lily didn't tell them I discovered, or they are just morons. About 2 o'clock, I texted her and asked whether we might get together for something like coffee. She accepted around 2:05 and instructed me to meet her at some terrible hipster coffee shop across from her workplace at 2:30. REVYing first, I ordered my awful coffee and waited a few minutes. She arrived and joined me after walking and placing her order. I said to her, "I'm simply going to blurt it out. Kane has been cheating on you with my wife. There's no simple way to say what I'm about to tell you. It has been going for almost a year." She seemed clearly startled, so I told her I'd only learned a few days before. I know I ought to have told her then, but I had a divorce to start and my own pity to cope with. She inquired about my source, and I responded with everything covered in the first piece. Then I brought out a binder and asked whether she would want to VYEW the material I had collected. She took the binder, quickly went over the photographs and notes, and then began to weep softly. She is more than welcome to grab the binder extra copies if she wanted to confront Kane with it or check whether he would lie. She thanked me, got up, picked the binder, and let me know whether she needed anything. She nodded her head and left OBVY, usly demoralized. I know you all add VY, said me, to keep a level head, stay sober, and whatnot, yet my world collapsed on top of me. I'm going to sit on my rear porch, drink smoke cigars, and blare music. I'll stop feeling bad about myself after this week and resume my regular calendar more positively. I have already packed most of her belongings, clothing, jewelry, etc. I also threw every picture with her in our wedding book into the crates. I want her here no more than she needs to be should she return for her items. Besides a few picture frames, nothing is shattered. Before you ask, no, I didn't ruin her clothes. Right now, nothing else is happening. I told everyone I ought to have told. 90 Fantram of her stuff is in boxes. My doctor's appointment is set. My lawyer is hard at work trying to get me out of this crap. I truly have no idea what remains should she stay out of my life. This may be the simplest divorce ever. I appreciate you looking over this one. Value. Add VYC, constantly update too. Hey everyone, I'm sorry I missed an action for a little and didn't reply to comments and mails, but I believe I caught up now regarding the update. I have been enjoying my pity party drinking, and even more drinking since the pre-VYS time, since I discovered everything and can't really put into words how I feel. This is probably my first semi-sober moment. I suppose numb is a good word. I told everyone all I informed them in the last post. The only one not responding was Lily's sister, from whom I was rather close. After writing the update that evening, I carried on my drinking spree, passed out on my back patio with a bottle and several beer cans all about, and woke up to the fragrance of breakfast cooking. Oh Christ, Lily came back and thinks breakfast is going to make up for what she's done. I first thought surprised. Let's name Lily's sister Ellen. I built myself up into a fury, flung myself from the chair ready for a yelling match. Ellen hurried to me and wrapped her arms around me. When I stood there momentarily attempting to cool myself, she realized I was awake. She said nothing. She just took my hand, walked me to the table, and set a plate in front of me. She told me how sorry she was while I ate, and that when her sister showed up at her place, she simply stated that we were VYing issues and that everything would be good in a few days. She then informed me that when I texted Lily regarding the divorce, she asked Lily, "If it's fine, why is he divorcing you?" Lily apparently simply broke down and told Ellen everything. I laughed and added, "There's no way she told you everything," then went on to relate all that had happened. Ellen informed me Lily had indicated it was only one time and I was exaggerating it. Ellen was here wasting her time since I told her I had no intention of getting back together with her. I also add VY, said her to let Lily know she should get a lawyer if she gets in touch with her. Ellen chuckled and remarked she was here for me, not for her sister. She told me she would be there for her sister naturally, but that she and I are friends and she wouldn't forsake me, particularly if I did nothing wrong. I got up, moved to her side of the table, and just gave her a hug. Hearing her say that made me feel so much better since I was so concerned that all this crap would sour our friendship. Ellen left this morning as I was getting ready to head to my cabin. She remained with me for 2 days in the guest bedroom. I had it before the marriage, thus Lily cannot touch it. She asked if she might join me as I was assembling my hunting and fishing gear, but I told her as much as I would want, she should most likely go check on her sister. She hugged me, agreed, and walked off. Ellen is really appreciated for being there for me. Before any of you claim she's into me, she isn't. She is also 20, and for me that is far too young. Simply said, it's a very close friendship. I nearly forgot to mention that I VY cited a doctor underwent tests and should get results on Monday. A couple times I have personally contacted Kane's fiancée to just check on her. She says she's good, but she has no idea what to do. I'm more than happy to listen if she wanted to meet anytime next week so she could rant. I really appreciate all the appreciation you have given me, as well as reading, getting in touch in my life. You all have been a lighthouse during a somewhat dark period. The only thing I can add VYSE, any of you experiencing this, is how to put your head down and concentrate on what you truly want, whether it's reconciliation or divorce. Make one-at-a-time goals for me. It was lawyer first, then doctor, telling all those close, keep it off of the internet, though set time also to release your emotions. Thank you once more. Apologies, these updates always seem so long. Update 3, I discussed Ellen VY citing my place and spending several days in my prior post. She left when I was headed hunting for my cabin. Positively, I scored a buck, a good big 8. Pointer, I'm very glad. I fired him on my first day out, as it allowed me the remainder of the time to go fishing. I fixed one dinner and killed the other since I only caught 2, but they were good size. I stayed at the lodge cleaning my deer and savored the natural surroundings throughout, apart from 2 glasses a day. I traveled sober, as promised. My drinking was just for last week. On to the last couple days now. My doctor called, and I'm all clear. Though Lily and I haven't had much enthusiasm in a few months, it's not really shocking. All the same, you never know. I contacted Kane's fiancée, but didn't hear back for some time. She answered finally, saying she is currently staying with her family. She didn't really go into great depth, but her being with her family, you could only guess as I do that things are not going. So, well, at least she's with family protected, and with all the help she might require, all she needs to do, I reminded her, is reach out if there is anything I can do. Naturally, I accepted when she and VY had me meet and get coffee the next day. We convened at the same horrible hipster coffee shop the following day and spent almost 2 hours chatting. We discussed all that Lily and I had gone through. She wanted to know if I was divorcing, if I would be reconciling, or what steps I was following. In my book, I informed her that's it. After someone cheats, the degree of selfishness and disdain required to cheat, let alone for a year, showcases clearly her lack of concern for me. What was her plan? I questioned her. She confided in me that she is perplexed about everything and that all she believed to be factual turned out to be lies. Whether to go on or to forgive him, she wasn't sure what her next action should. You're a better person than me if you can forgive someone for cheating on you for that length of time. I add VY said her. She told me all of her family was add VY, saying her to forgive him and then get married. Just because it's what your family wants doesn't mean you need to follow along. I add VY said her, being direct. Then I said, Kane cheated on you as fiancé with my wife. He clearly doesn't give marriage, and what it all implies, any thought should that not con VYNCE you, he is not marriage material. I am not sure what else does. I add VY said her to follow her moral compass and not let anyone else except herself make choices impacting her life. When I found out, all I could do was consider how my heart could fool my head into thinking of some way I could accept it and forgive Lily, but I just could not do it. I claimed, too, that I only spoke with one indie VY duel, but that I had already decided and that nobody could change my mind. When you stayed with your family, you had a very decent notion of what you were going to do, but you let too many people in and they all interpreted it any way they want. I ended by telling her all she had to do was trust her gut. Her heart and brain will constantly lie to her. If her gut senses something is odd, 9 out of 10 times her gut is most likely accurate. She said thanks, and we headed home separately. My lawyer messaged me the next day, saying Lily had been served successfully at her place of employment. I appreciated all of his work, particularly in relation to the time scale he has achieved. Ellen called not long after that to inform me Lily has stayed at her room all day and is crying in bed. Lily was served, and she is most likely realizing how terrible she screwed up. Ellen wanted to know whether I had anything and how the cabin was. I told her all I did and how my stay when we spoke for a little, then hung up. I then got ready and cleaned my house for her response, given a recent Sarah VYing I reason that she will burst shortly given that she has time. I am thus calmly waiting for it. I have add VYL on hand for what I would guess to be a little headache. When I informed a friend, he nodded. Should Lily show there, he would dash over to act as a witness, should all else fail. I'm writing right now, awaiting Hurricane Lily to rip through my house. Should she, or when she does, I will forward another update. I appreciate each of you reading. Update 4, about an hour or so after publishing yesterday, I was waiting for Lily to show up at the house and go ballistic, though given all that has happened, I never truly knew the woman. I had no real reason to believe she would be. I checked every camera I had set up inside and outside to make sure they were running as they should. Telling my friend that Lily was served today, I told him he should get to my place right away should she show up thanks to this woman. I am not going to jail. Turns out I was correct since Lily arrived at the house screaming to allow her in and banged on the door. Lily was pounding on my door, so I called Ellen and my friend right away to get here. She was shouting every name in the book, berating my name, imploring me to allow her in, and wondering how I could be so callous. She's not incorrect, is all I could do. Throughout the time she was screaming and pounding on the door was giggle. Then I questioned why she didn't just stroll in, since at least from what I knew, he still carried keys. My friend arrived still screaming and cursing, so he started to record on his phone and stayed in his truck, but these morons brought Lily's buddy, his wife, with. She thus came out and aimed to cool Lily down. She approached Lily, arms around her, attempting to get her talk, but Lily then slapped her across the face, shouting at her to mind her own business. That led my friend, who now has a VY Deo of it, to call the cops till the cops arrived. Lily kept screaming and cursing. She put much effort on portraying the VY tint. When they did, she started to weep until the two cops I hit her threw her out of the house. Lily was yelling and pounding on the door when my friend and his wife arrived at the house, so they verified that I hadn't followed her ad VYC. The officer was done chatting with my friend and his wife. Then he came to my door. Lily remarked, "There, that's him. When I opened it, he struck me. I want him taken into custody." I told the officer I could prove she was lying to him all I need. So she started to put me in cuffs. Stopping the officer, instructed me to show him the VYEW captured on the exterior camera. Ha VYing seen the VY Deo. He said he was sorry for presuming I was the one in error and for drawing snap judgments. I told him I didn't blame him, but he then informed me my neighbors had called them 15 times overall, and allegedly Lily had yelled out, "He hit me," during her outburst. Thus the cops had rendered their decision already. Mia spent around half an hour dealing with the police before being charged with disturbing the peace, public intoxication, and a DUI, and being placed in handcuffs. Ellen showed up and came to me inquiring what had occurred as the cops drove her to the car. I played her the entire VY Deo on my phone. Then the officer came up to give me some extra documents and the case number. Ellen started to probe the charges, so I returned inside. Ellen came right behind and sat behind me. She informed me she had left her house for 10 minutes to run to the store, but when she returned, Lily was no longer in the leave VYing room, so she assumed Lily had gone to bed after too much alcohol. After some time of conversation, Ellen requested whether she might spend the night with me. She was always welcome whenever I said. She informed me Lily had to stay the night in jail. I'm not sure why, but they may get her released early in the morning. Ellen doesn't have that type of money. Thus, she told me when I returned inside, she called her parents to let them know what was occurring and to see whether they could bail Lily out. We shared a beer and shortly went to bed. Ellen had already left to see her folks. When I got up in the morning, though, I haven't heard from Lily, Ellen, or their parents. I wouldn't find it to be a lively discussion. Update 5. Since that evening, I haven't heard from Lily, but my lawyer received calls from hers informing him he will be representing Lily. At last, we may begin this process. I also asked Kane's fiancée whether she had any updates on her front. We only chatted back and forth, but she informed me she kicked him out of her house and had her father and brother pack everything and drop it at his house. She stated she just wanted to put all this behind her and go on. Her dad and brother wanted to beat him, but she urged them not to. She said her close friends are available for her when she needs them, and thanked me for checking on her. I emailed her the link to my Reddit page so she could VYEW all the help you all pro VY to her and to her. Friday, the instant I left the office, I ran home. I had intended to spend the weekend back in my cabin. Ellen was in my driveway. When I showed up, she had a list of what my wife expected and intended to obtain from her sister. I quickly went over it, and all except one object was already in a box or sitting in my garage, just waiting to be picked up. I informed her, I'm not carrying or touching anything from here. I want to avoid liability should Lily wish to claim I damage her belongings right now. I'm heading to my cabin and don't have time to deal with Lily's crap. So I told Ellen I would pay for a MOVYing company to come and box all her stuff. That would be fantastic, she added, and hoped I enjoyed myself. She piled a box of Lily's clothes in her car. Then she turned to me and asked whether she may tag along. Sure, why not go back home, drop off the box, and pack a bag for yourself? I asked. She was dragging up by the time I headed to the shop and loaded the truck. I shut my house and started Ellen toward the cabin. The weekend turned out rather perfect. I understood what a gem that location is when I was last VY sighting there. It is totally secluded and has a great perspective. Thus, I am free from dealing with people here. You may really rest and breathe in. I phoned a MOVYing firm on Monday, and by Tuesday, 3 men in a large truck pulled up and began loading as they closed a box and picked up. I had every box opened as the movers loaded all the furniture. I photographed every piece. I tipped each of them an extra $50 and thanked them all for letting me live. I then proceeded on with my day and submitted all the recordings and photos to my lawyer. The house looks empty, yet also spotless without all her possessions. My lawyer at VY said me not to throw away anything that would be deemed shared when I started this process. Hence, I kept most of the furniture in a storage facility. Since she departed, I've been sleeping in the guest room. So up until I started writing this piece, I had been shopping for entirely new furniture. Now that I have the garage, I most likely will be storing most of the stuff there, even if I win the house and the divorce. Had many negative memories, thus I won by not keeping. Update 6. My last post was quite some time ago. Between finishing this divorce, handling my soon-to-be ex, and coaching these children, I don't have much free time at the moment. Quite a lot has transpired, hence this may be a long post. Please be. A few days after the movers delivered her items to Lily, my attorney received some documentation stating I damaged her items and that I would pay her due law $1,500, or she would be bringing me before court over it. Asking exactly where the damages she claimed, I caused my lawyer sent hers all the footage and images. All this does is tell the judge how unhinged she is, and it might be a headache now, but when it's time for court, this will all be perfect. EVY dang, he said. Her attorney wasn't prepared for my level of meticulousness or for me photographing and recording everything. I was for some reason pulled to this page and read all of the horror stories of the things people's pre-VYS husbands did to them. When I learned of my wife's affair, I absolutely refused to be another one of those stories. I wouldn't put anything past her at this point. I have practically every consequence and accusation she can make ready for. Lily had called once every other day, but I never answered. I merely forward her voicemail to my lawyer. I don't bother listening to if she left one. Every time I forward my attorney something, he always tells me, "You're a wet dream for a lawyer. You pay attention to everything I say on your own. You compile the mountain of proof." I have not yet had a customer that has done so brilliantly. Well, I mentioned he says that every time he wasn't exaggerating, but it makes me smile. VYing that confidence from him that I'm doing everything right helps me to feel somewhat better about the whole circumstance. My lawyer informed me roughly 2, maybe 3 weeks ago that we have enough proof to bury her outside of court. Should it fail, it would reflect well on us for effort. We thus scheduled a meeting in a neutral lawyer's office a week ago. He ad VY said me, before we met, don't react to anything Lily might say, no matter what. Should it go before court, everything we do would be noted for a judge to re-VY. Early in the morning we arrived and headed into the workplace. She was already there waiting with her lawyer. Shockingly, when we arrived, the lawyers began chatting to one another silently. Sitting there, Lily and I waited for what was to come. Lily's attorney began by inquiring about our offerings and declared with a mountain of proof of the affair and Lily's inappropriate VY. Or later, the only thing we'll offer is half of the selling price of the house and half of the VYNGS account. That beyond what any court would award, you will be departing with basically what you entered into them. He then turned straight toward Lily and said, if you choose to go to court, I will publish every message making you read it all out loud. I will then post every picture up for all in court for VYing and ask you to meticulously explain what you were doing in each one. Then I'll mention your most recent accusations and show the footage captured that evening. Looking at me, Lily started to cry and asked whether she could do anything to right this. You have been cheating on me since before our marriage, I remarked. I can only show a few weeks before the wedding. I imagine there was far more. Nothing at all could possibly help me to forget or pardon you for what you have done. Sign the paperwork. It's more than you deserve, and I want to be done with this whole hoax you produced. She had to excuse herself to the bathroom and shed terrible tears for 15 minutes. She still was in tears when she got back, but she signed the paperwork and left not long after. Everything will be filed in roughly 1 month, hence all I will have left to do is sell the house. I appreciate everyone reading and all of your wise counsel, though I could be mistaken. I do not see anything else occurring. Should it, I will let you know, but most likely this will be my last post. Hence, once again, thank you everybody. I hope what occurred to me benefits at least one person else out there. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around.